If you've been on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or really just haven't been under a rock, you've probably heard of Dandadan. It's the newest smash hit anime on the scene right now, and that hype doesn't seem to be dying down anytime soon. The reviews on Mal are sitting at an 8.6 out of 10, and the reviews on Crunchyroll at a 4.9 out of 5. But what exactly has propelled it into the limelight? Why is the story so captivating despite its ridiculous premise? And why do I think these first 4 episodes are the absolute best that we've seen from anime in years? Is it just cool action, silly comedy, and attractive grandmas? Not that one. Yeah, there we go. Well, let's start at episode 1. The story does a very good job at nailing pretty much every fundamental aspect of getting the audience interested in the story. It takes about 10 seconds from the first frame before Momo fires off a kick at her trashy boyfriend. This is an incredible way for us to get to know her, and really just this moment tells the audience so much of what we need to know about her for the next little bit. She's a feisty go-getter who can stand out for herself. This initial jump in momentum not only establishes a subtle type of empathy, but also creates a stronger sense of mystery. We want to follow her and see what happens next. From there, the story doesn't waste much time. It gives us a little more context into her character, using the fact that she's dating a bum to let us know she's really a loud, goofy romantic. Everything about her, from the way she's acted to the way she's spoken to the way she walks, very much frames her as this tough girl who knows what she wants and is out to get it. However, this is where we're introduced to Okurun, and the way his character is communicated is the exact opposite of hers. When she sees him being bullied, there's a small mystery that makes us think, I wonder what's up with this guy, or oh, I saw him in the intro, he's important. The larger emotion that connects us to his character, though, is empathy. Momo uses large actions to stoke our curiosity with subtle undertones of empathy, whereas Okurun uses sad situations to invoke empathy with curiosity as the secondary emotion. By having Momo stop the bullying, it gives the audience a second chance to help learn about her character. She's that authentic, strong female lead who hasn't lost her heart and that is very good at making her feel human and charming. The next trick Dandadan uses is subversion. If you take a look at Okurun reading alone and getting bullied, you might think he's just a quiet, timid kid too afraid to speak to people. That idea is justified for a little, but in reality, Okurun is better at talking to girls than even you are. He's actually loud and demanding and a bit abrasive, but those character weaknesses are softened by our empathy, and that allows us to see Momo's impatience. We've really only seen her display positive traits up until this point, so this is a really creative time to have her snap. And it's from this point onward that we've laid the groundwork and can allow the next interaction to change the reason we stay interested in the story. The moment that the two begin to exchange dialogue and Okurun starts to make fun of her topic choice, we stop watching because we're curious and we start watching because these characters are charming. Naturally, there's still a bit of curiosity to see how they interact, but you can already tell how charming the two are just on their first interaction. Now, charm is an odd word in writing because it can come in a bunch of different forms. But the main reason I think Dandadan's conversion from curiosity to charm works so smoothly is because of their dialogue. They're both very proud in their views about aliens and spirits respectively, and their conversation is there to help us realize that they're both kind of goofy, and that is great. The story gives Momo a ton of agency and strength without taking away her charm and empathy, and it gives Okurun tons of charm and empathy without making him a victim or a wet blanket. By taking these normal people with their normal characteristics and letting their humor of their conversation shine through with dramatic body actions, line delivery, music choice, and stoking their tempers, the charm can bleed through the screen. And I think that's what people really like when they watch Dandadan. They love this feeling of two people they could easily be friends with hanging out because their personalities and interactions are so charming. The next thing that this exchange of dialogue does is set up conflict. Okurun believes in aliens but thinks ghosts are a hoax, and Momo believes the opposite. The extreme over-the-top conversation and scenarios up until this point have made their bet super believable. And it's at this point, as they're communicating on the phone, the dialogue takes a deep breath from the funny conversation and lets Momo have some more empathy from the viewer, letting us know that her family, save her grandma, is dead. It hasn't even been 10 minutes and Momo's character has already had a ton of dynamic motion. After that, action is brought back to the forefront and the story switches gears again. And it does a really good job at that, switching between humor to empathy to action to tension to fear to relief and everything else. And the next major thing I think this episode does really well is also giving Okurun his moment. While Momo had her chance to further contextualize our empathy with her in the flashback, Okurun gets the same opportunity when he talks about the reason he wanted aliens to be real is because he doesn't have any friends among the other humans. Once again, this sad situation doesn't paint him as the victim, but actually gears him up ready to fight and do his best. And the series follows this trend of Momo getting some momentum, then Okurun right after. Momo is introduced first, then Okarun. Momo gets a glimpse of backstory first, then Okarun. She awakens her powers, and then he gets a new form. This is a great way for momentum to be satisfied in the first couple episodes. There's always something new given to us, and the story doesn't make us wait too long before a new idea or element gets put into play. Dandadan does this balance of charm, empathy, momentum, and tension so well that by the end of the first episode, when the goal objective for the arc is given, it doesn't even matter how ridiculous it is. This world with aliens, ghosts, charm, romance, and whatever else is focused on getting back Okarun's ding-dong. And if you haven't watched and think maybe what I said isn't what I mean, it 100% is. Turbo Granny steals Okarun's package, and the objective set forward to the characters by the end of episode 1 is that they must go back and get it. But how can the episode and the story be so good, but the premise be so ridiculous? Well, this question has been asked many times before, but the most famous time was when American author Jim Butcher boldly claimed that the idea of a story doesn't matter, only the skill of the author and its execution. Another unnamed writer rejected that idea and offered a bet. Jim Butcher would need to write a story fusing the ideas of the Lost Roman Legion and Pokemon. Jim Butcher accepted, and a little while later released the Codex Illyria series. As of right now, the 6-book series has a little under 500,000 reviews on Goodreads, and each book averages a score of 4.5 stars out of 5. And Dandadan is a great example of that in anime. The story premise set up by the end of episode 1 is so ridiculous, but the execution of the characters, the charm of the story, and the scenarios used to communicate those things to the audience are so incredible, to the point that if the premise of the story was watching Okarun and Momo go shopping, people would still watch. Episodes 2 and 3 also take that premise, and while it keeps building momentum through helping Momo get stronger and giving Okarun a new form, the main purpose of those episodes are to world build and give us new ideas to chew on. For example, aliens and ghosts set off the same spiritual sensors. Are the two one and the same? Or maybe they're different but more similar than we previously thought? This is a question set up that will presumably be given an answer later down the line, but it's a very strong way for Dandadan to let us know that we're going to need to cast aside what we think of aliens and ghosts so the story can twist the concepts. The introduction of Granny also gives us a taste of the power system. And if you think that this isn't a power system present in the story, like for some reason people think with Demon Slayer, it most certainly is. Magic in storytelling is a concept and idea that's just a stand-in for anything enabling actions beyond our current understanding or capability. So much so to the point that lots of time technology is treated as part of a magic system. Dandadan actually pays off this perspective at the end of episode 4. But because the first episode and a lot of episode 2 focuses so much on Momo and Okarun's dynamic, it leaves a little bit of room for the leading hook to switch from empathy of their characters, enjoyment of their charm, back to curiosity. And by implementing the twist of Turbo Granny giving a time limit on coming to fight her, that curiosity is given a ton of tension. When the two go to fight Turbo Granny, there's so much unanswered and so much we need to do that it makes the initiation of their battle feel like there's so much weight riding on it. By the end of that episode, we get to see how ghosts, spirits, and curses interact with each other, along with letting us see a location-bound spirit. And maybe most importantly, Okarun gets his ding-dong back. While obviously that's great because it would just suck if he didn't, it's also really interesting that it wraps up the arc so quickly. The characters achieve a state of normalcy once again by the end of the episode, kind of like we made a really quick trip around the hero's journey. Except this time, Momo and Okarun are friends, and the story indirectly sets up that the isolated arc between episodes 1 and 4 are a promise as to what the larger story is going to be about. And I think that's what makes the first 4 episodes so incredible and why we as the audience love it so much. There's so much charm, passion, love, and creativity wrapped up in them, and the fact that it's used so quickly to wrap up a 4-episode arc is incredible. I'm super excited to see where the story is going, and honestly, I think it has a shot for Anime of the Year. We're entering a new era of shonen, and I'm really excited to see Dandadan help pave the way. If you enjoyed this video, maybe check out some of our character analysis videos, and until next time, keep dreaming.